At the beginning of the story, we see the Poseidon, a ship even bigger than the Titanic, sailing off to New York. This ship is so huge that thousands of people are on board right now, and they can survive on it for days. In fact, their journey had already been going on for quite a while. The ship has all kinds of facilities, music, dance, bars, and plenty of wealthy folks were traveling on it. Actually, it was New Year's Eve, the last night of the year. Everyone was celebrating the new year with a lot of excitement and cheer, wishing each other a happy new year. Everyone was hugging each other and celebrating when, at the same time, in the control room of the huge ship, the captain of the Poseidon, Durban, just started checking the situation ahead. That's when he noticed a massive tsunami heading straight for them, really close. Chaos broke out inside the control room. The captain immediately ordered the Poseidon to turn around, and all the pilots jumped into action, each doing their part. But it was too late. The tsunami, as tall as the sky, crashed right into their giant ship. The collision was so intense that thousands of passengers inside started falling in the same direction. All the pilots in the control room went down with a single jolt. Meanwhile, everyone in the dance bar got crushed, one on top of the other. The whole ship slowly began to tip over. People in the canteen area were also crushed to death. Because of the blast inside the ship, some people died in the blink of an eye, as the upper part of the ship had already sunk straight into the water. Looking at the ship, it seemed like it might right itself again after tipping over, but there was no way that was going to happen. Now the whole ship was standing. Instead of staying upright, the upper part on the other side slipped straight underwater. Everyone inside the dance bar was crushed in the chaos. No one knew how to protect themselves. The whole ship had flipped over now. The propeller pushing the water was clearly visible above. Bodies were floating in the sea like fish. The control room was flooded, and all the pilots were drowned underwater. Because of the water, a short circuit happened inside the ship, and darkness took over the Poseidon. Meanwhile, screams echoed through the hall, chilling everyone to the bone. It was shocking. People were still in disbelief, wondering how this could happen to them. But little did they know, it was all fate, meant to be. Just then, a mother named Maggie was coming to her senses, calling out for her son Connor, looking for him. Suddenly, Robert, a father, emerged from between the dead bodies. Meanwhile, Jennifer woke up to see her boyfriend, Christian, hiding under the lights in a dance bar. There was also another girl with Jennifer. There was a girl named Elena. Both of them were trying to get Christian out, but because the iron rod was heavy, he couldn't get out. Maggie spots her son on top of the piano. When the ship was sinking and flipping over, her son had grabbed onto the piano and hung on, which saved his life. Jennifer's dad and a few others managed to rescue Maggie's son. Meanwhile, in the lower section where Christian was trapped under the iron, there was a bunch of exposed wires that caused a short circuit, which a lot of people lost their lives because of the electric shock. The scene was so heartbreaking that both Ilan and Jennifer were trembling. Just watching it, inside the music hall, the main character of this story, Dylan, is shown trying to get out to save his own life. Just then, Maggie's son told him to leave with his mom. Meanwhile, in the ballroom where Dylan was, a crew security guy told all the passengers that they needed to stay calm and wait there because the rescue team would arrive soon. But Dylan believed that if we stay here, I'm definitely going to die because the ship is already half full of water, and since it's tipping over, the water pressure keeps increasing. So Delon, Maggie, her son Robert, and a few others managed to get out of there. Meanwhile, Jennifer gets help from a stranger to get her boyfriend out. With his help, Christian got out. Now Delon's team had to go upstairs, but the path was blocked by a lot of stuff. Then Delon spotted an elevator, though it was shut. After a lot of effort, the elevator, so it opened up, but the biggest problem was that the place was completely empty. If anyone messed up, they'd fall straight down, and the elevator was broken and stuck above. First, they leaned on a desk for support, and climbing over a guy named Nelson. Dylan, Maggie, and her son, then Robert, one by one, all started getting to the upper part. But as soon as it was Nelson's turn, the desk lost balance and he nearly fell. Now it was the turn of another guy who was holding the desk with them. But he was the first to. Nelson was told to climb up when suddenly the elevator above started falling down and his desk slipped and fell too. The last guy was already hanging on, holding Nelson, and the elevator was coming down fast towards them. Nelson felt like he was about to die. So, he kicked that guy off and escaped just before the elevator hit. The elevator blast caused a fire. Seeing this, everyone quickly shut the doors and got out of there. Upstairs, Robert met his daughter, Jennifer, and started checking Christian's injuries. Meanwhile, as soon as the blast happened downstairs in the canteen room, everyone inside the music hall who had gathered got freaked out. Upstairs, Dylan and the rest of the group reached the elevator shaft area. Since the ship had completely flipped over, it was really tough for them to get out of there. The whole group started moving forward, using debris for support. Elna had also reached Nelson's side, but when it was Jennifer's turn, a guy named Larry said, "No, it's my turn now." So Dylan sent him up first. Everyone watched as Larry started climbing. He was completely panicking when suddenly a huge metal elevator part fell right on him, killing him instantly. Meanwhile, 3 people were trapped: Dylan, Robert, and his daughter Jennifer. Right then, Dylan grabbed a water pipe and jumped straight into the burning water without even thinking about risking his life. He just wanted to get everyone off the ship. Then on the other side, he tied the rope from the pipe, helping Robert and his daughter to come over. Just then, inside the music room, they started looking around. The ship's mirror was beginning to crack because the water pressure was so strong that the mirror couldn't hold up. Everyone panicked seeing this. Their fear grew even more, and then suddenly, water broke through the mirror from all sides and flooded in. All the passengers who had been hoping for a rescue ended up becoming victims of death. If anyone survived, it was Dylan's team. Now they had to find a way out of there, or else death was certain. Everyone grabbed their emergency torches and tried to move forward. They went. But it was already too late, because the water that had come inside the hall was now rising and starting to flood their area. There was no way to escape when Robert spotted a vent nearby. Without wasting any time, everyone tried to climb up through that dusty vent. But when they got there, they found the exit was blocked off with a grate. Now everyone was trapped inside. Robert kept hitting the grate, trying to open it, but it was no use. On top of that, water was rising from below. It seemed like that, but it still wasn't over. The worst part was when Nelson got stuck in the same ventilator while climbing up. Water started filling in. Dylan, who was at the very back, was the only one not letting anyone die. But now it was his turn. Maggie's son tried to unscrew the mesh with his hands. But how much strength can a kid really have? Meanwhile, Robert's hand was too big to even reach it when Elena quickly took off her locket and handed it to Maggie's son, who started working on opening it. But the water below was now bensound.com. The water was pulling them under. Elena gave Nelson a hard shove to get him out of the stuck spot, and after a lot of effort, the kid managed to unscrew the hatch. They all rushed out fast. Dylan was sure he would survive, so he held his breath for a long time. In the next scene, just as everyone was trying to get out, Dylan opened a bunch of water valves in that area. He did this because the door wouldn't open, and they didn't have any tools or weapons to break it down. So when the water had risen all the way up to their noses, and everyone was starting to drown in it, they thought Dylan's plan had completely failed and that they were all going to die by drowning. Just then, the pressure suddenly broke open the second door, and everyone rushed out through the water. But now, they had to get out of this part of the place. That's where the real nightmare began. As they were all trying to get out quickly through the water, the darkness made it impossible to find the exit door. Dylan was in the lead, guiding everyone. She started coming out, showing the way. But all the exits were blocked. Meanwhile, a wire got caught in Elena's clothes, stopping her in the water. On top of that, in the rush, she hit her head and started bleeding. Nelson noticed Elena wasn't visible behind him anymore. Without wasting a second, He rushed to her and got her out. Robert immediately began giving Elena CPR. Nelson thought she'd regain consciousness, but that was far from happening. Honestly, this scene was incredibly emotional because he had helped them a lot to move forward. Everyone's eyes filled with tears because he had told them he was going to New York to be with his sick brother. But Delon didn't want to lose anyone. That's what good people do. Everyone left him there because they had no choice. But now, the remaining part of the Poseidon ship was about to sink, and water kept flooding inside. Due to the high pressure, the front part of the ship started going underwater, causing huge blasts. They started, and that's why the explosion was lifting the back part of the ship. Right then, Robert saw an empty gallery, the way everyone was running. Water was just behind them when Delon ran off in the other direction, because if he hadn't, everyone would have died. Actually, that last part was filling up with water really fast, and the ship was breaking apart from underneath. Maggie was with Delon since she had fallen behind. Meanwhile, as soon as Nelson went to the big pipe and tried to open the door suddenly swung open violently, and he was getting way too injured. Actually, it was that propeller pipe that got damaged because of the high air pressure. Now water started filling the area near the hull breach. On the other side, Maggie saw her son who was trapped there, and he was about to drown along with them. Without wasting a second, Delon went underwater trying to open the door, but it just wouldn't budge. Meanwhile, Robert got hold of the ship's layout, and that's when he realized they were near the propeller section. In other words, the ship was completely upside down now. That's why to open the door ahead, he had to go underwater and open the door from where everyone could get out. But Christian tried to stop him because the water was rising steadily, making it really dangerous for him. His daughter also told him not to, but to save everyone's life, he jumped into the water. That's when the life and death situation really began, because on the other side, Delon, Maggie, and his son couldn't find a way out. And here Robert couldn't find the button underwater to press it. After searching a lot in that area, he reaches the spot where the propeller was controlled, but suddenly he starts suffocating and keeping gulping water until he stops breathing. Meanwhile, Maggie's son was also starting to drown underwater, but a dying Robert managed to press the button, which stopped the propeller. Everyone's lives were saved, but sadly, he died. The worst part was that Robert's death was pointless because the boat had already started, moving in reverse again. Actually, instead of pressing the button to stop the propeller, he pressed the one that made it go backwards. He had set it up so that if anyone went near it, the propeller would pull them right in. Actually, they needed to get out the same way, and the exit was on the other side of the propeller. Seeing this, Delon completely panicked, and just then Christian told him they had to throw something big into it to break the propeller. So he quickly grabbed a big gas tank and threw it inside. But the air pressure was so strong that it got stuck right at the door. Even with Delon kicking at it, he wasn't budging an inch from his spot, and the pressure from the water was starting to break down their position, with water rushing in fast. There was almost no chance of them surviving here, but now it was Delon's turn to sacrifice himself. If he didn't stop that propeller, all his efforts would be wasted and everyone would be dead. After a huge struggle, he somehow managed to shove that gas tank into the path of the propeller, causing a massive blast, and for the moment, he survived. Not just him, but everyone else was saved too. All the people at the end of the propeller. They had reached the corner, but the danger wasn't over yet because the ship was breaking, apart from an explosion inside, and was about to sink completely. So everyone immediately jumped into the water and quickly made their way to the lifeboat. Just as they were climbing aboard, a part of the ship started moving toward them. One of the propellers was still running. At that moment, the whole ship flipped upright, but half of it was already underwater. Everyone started rushing away from the hull as fast as they could. The waves from the sinking ship. They came quite a long way, which saved all their lives. Before you knew it, the huge Poseidon ship was completely sunk in the Atlantic Ocean. Out of all those people, only 6 survived. Robert's daughter Jennifer, Christian, who was her boyfriend, Maggie and her son Nelson, and the main character of this story, Delon, who hardly had any chance of survival. Actually, none of them really did. The moment Dylon fired his flare gun, 2 helicopters showed up and rescued them. And with that scene, the story ends right here. It teaches us that the safest looking path isn't always the right one. No matter how tough things get, a person can fight till the very end with hope and courage.